Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLions.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we're looking at Wednesday night's NBA playoff games here, 4 to choose from, as there's some elimination games and then some other teams at 2-2 here. We are going to run through our best bets in this video, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page. You can also check out the player props video we have up for you about all 4 games as well. Running through how we did a couple of nights ago. We are recording this a day ahead so we can get ahead of these lines with you guys. So I'm looking here at the games from the 24th of April, 2 nights ago from when this video will be seen by you guys. And we did go 3-2 on the night, got the overs right on the Heat game, Heat total, the Milwaukee-Miami game total, like both those overs. Got some stuff right there with the overs in that LAL, the Lakers and Memphis game, which needed to go to overtime, but we got there. And then AD was unable to get too many points off, which is a bet we got wrong. But at any rate, that was mostly because he got hurt on that hip early, which is something that we'll probably talk about as they're back on the slate for Wednesday night. So Nate, let's go ahead and jump into your first best bet for the night.
Yeah, the kids call him Mr. Glass, but we're moving on here to the Bucks and getting their get back here. This is really my strongest bet of the night in terms of just Giannis coming out and clapping back the way after Jimmy put up 56 on them. So in the game video here, I'm saying Bucks money line plus the over 219. And I was talking with Josh that I'm a little scared of this one. It's plus odds, though, plus 125. I mean, I think it's 99% chance Bucks win this game at home. What I'm scared of is that Miami either just packs it in and says, all right, you got to beat us in Miami, though. And sees tremendous offensive regression. Jimmy getting 56 points on 68% shooting. Jimmy had 20 straight points for the Heat at one point. Nobody else is remotely scaring you. If you're Milwaukee right now, like nobody else can get their own shot. They're down to 6 undrafted players, which is heat culture, whatever. But is Caleb Martin going to face threes in Giannis's face again and down the stretch? I don't think any of that's happening at home. I mean, on the road. I do think at home for the Bucks, they're going to shoot much better. They shot 32% from 3. Particularly Drew went 2 for 11 from deep. He's shooting 47% from 3 at home since the start of the new year here. Milwaukee hit 18 threes at 38% in the first 2 games of the series, and that was without Giannis, of course, who, you're not handing out 13 assists with a triple-double unless you're feeling pretty spry. I mean, 26 points is solid. It also, like we predicted, increased the amount of free throws that the Bucks were able to generate to 20. That should even go up more at home, which is going to help your over once again. I mean, we talked about in game 4, just the total. We don't understand how it's that low, 217.5. And now we're only barely a little bit higher than that. We know Giannis is playing. We know the Bucks score more and are even faster paced at home. The first 2 games of the series were a 103 pace, and we're still at a 101 pace. Miami is willing to push it. But yeah, I mean, there is reason to be scared about Miami's offense here. So if you are, I will also say Bucks over 115.5 is a fine bet with about even money as well.
Yeah, points seem like a good bet. I don't think that Miami's going to roll over and die by any means in this game. Your points are basically that they might not have a choice and that it'll get away from them enough that they'll just kind of want to sit the one guy that they know can bring them victory. But it's interesting because when they were tied, when Miami was up 2-1 before the last game, it was kind of like, well, they're going to need 2 big games to close this out from Jimmy Butler in order to do so. And they just got one. So now we're down to the next one. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to come, a day later with all of the usage that he got there at the end, 56 points. I was exhausted watching him run back and down, up and down like that and just be pulling threes. Like that takes a lot of legs after a full game. So, shout out Jimmy. Obviously, Jimmy Bucket's doing his thing. But this is a game in Milwaukee that you do expect there to be some sort of progression with Giannis back and with the Bucks crowd behind them in order for them to pull this out. So we'll see whether or not it's a blowout. I don't think either way. If it was a blowout, I probably still wouldn't be scared of the total. It's such a low total at 219. So I'm really not worried about needing to get the call that the Bucks are going to be the one scoring all the points in this game. I think you obviously could still get to over 219 with the Bucks scoring 113 points or what have you, and still win this game by 6 points or so. So I think that all those possibilities, all those scenarios are possible in a way that you might as well just take the total of the game to kind of spread out the wealth there. So moving on to my pick, Nate, and I am going to talk about my New York Knicks. And my reverse jinx worked because I said I don't think that they're long for this series. And I was kind of right because they weren't long for this series as they move on, hopefully, to the next one with 3 wins in a row. I don't know that that's necessarily going to happen, but I am going to call that they can get over their team total at 98.5 points in this one, which is a little bit better at FanDuel, minus 114 or versus the minus 115 you see on a couple other sites like BetMGM and DraftKings. They've hit this over in 3 of 4 in the series, and the way I see it, there's just so many points that have been left on the table, including Game 4, where they did get over this total. Obviously, it was at home, but they got over this total, and they did so while missing 10 free throws on 28 attempts. And they've been getting a lot of free throws in this series, including more than 28 3 different times. So I think they hit 25 of 30 in a game that they only scored 90 points in Game 2 there. So where's it going to come from? Because they can miss threes and hit free throws. They can miss most of their threes, which they are doing, and continue to at least get to the rim and attack the paint the way that they have. And they've shown, like I said, Julius Randle, say what you will about him, has, and between he and at this point, I will throw in Obi Toppin and Isaiah Hartenstein, who were basically a 3-man rotation in Game 4. And the two of those guys were able to also, to a degree, big boy Evan Mobley. I'll just say it because around, the defensive glass, especially, they're keeping him off of it. And even on the offensive glass, their second chance points are definitely one way that they have to score. And I just think they have more ways to score in that sense at this point. You continue to see more Josh Hart minutes, and I think that's going to continue. Quentin Grimes is currently questionable for the next game. He missed Game 4. Between he and Josh Hart, it's been one of them on the floor at all times in order to be able to guard Donnie Mitchell. And Josh Hart played 39 minutes guarding Donnie Mitchell the entirety of the time that he was on the floor with Mitchell. And you'll continue to see that. He did such a good job in the last game. You'll probably continue to see that even if Grimes is able to play unlimited minutes. But my main point is Grimes has not helped the offense at all. He's actually stymied it in a way by really shooting so poorly. He had 11 points in the first 3 games before he sat out in the 4th. He missed most of Game 3 as well after only playing 13 minutes. And that does help their offense. Josh Hart's been very efficient, 19 points in Game 4, and he continues to be someone who just does it all, right? He's just a Swiss Army knife on offense, still able to get at least 2 assists in every game of this series, including 4 in one of these games. So he can continue to facilitate. He's almost, another ball handling, playmaking option for them at times, which is really, really nice. Not that you want him to be that, by the way. That's not something you can depend upon for very long. My main point is that he's been more impactful positively for this offense than Quentin Grimes. So I think the only game that they didn't go over, it's like, do you really expect them to to shoot 36% from the field? It's possible. Never say die with these two teams playing in a game against each other. But I think that's been the anomaly, as they continue to do that. Jalen Brunson had a really bad game too, where, like I said, the only game they failed to get over 98.5. And that was really just the second half where he got shut down and missed all of his shots, only managed to get 6 points by going to the free throw line 6 times. So he's going to want to really get that one back. I know that he's pretty pissed and probably takes it on himself that they were unable to come through with that victory and they would have swept. So last thing I'll say is the other place that last 2 things. One, I just want to shout out Obi Toppin, who I know it's not even just hollow minutes from him. He's giving them like really good minutes, including on offense, where he has been a bigger threat from deep than Julius Randle at this point, where with the way Randle's shooting on that ankle. I'm not going to try to predict how Randle's going to react emotionally coming back. I know that I love having Jalen Brunson on that team because all the things he's talked about in the media that's our guy. I'm really proud of the way that he reacted to being benched in Game 4, even though other people wanted to make it a big deal, as though he was sort of, bringing down the team, and all his teammates are like, nah, we don't see it that way. So I don't think there's any problems in the locker room is my main point. If Obi is going to continue to get minutes, I'm proud of Tibbs for playing the right people and not just running his big stars into the ground and doing it the right way. And as a result, I think their offense has opened up and they'll continue to be able to get 99 points in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we were wondering when the books were going to move the total down closer to 200, right? And it happened. It's 202, and now's the time to zag. We're both on that, but I really like this more than taking the game total because the Cavs are going to have to try a lot of different things to find some offense. Like their offense is a lot more vulnerable to these lapses. Like you said, it took just an awful second half from the Knicks to not get to 100 or around this total here. And Brunson is just the bucket. Like I don't believe the Cavs are going to come up with some defensive scheme to baffle him again. Like they were able to get him off balance for a minute. I think he's got every counter in the book, and he's got a better supporting cast around him. So whether the Knicks win or lose, I think they will get to 100 in this one.
Yep.
And looking at another one of Josh's teams here, the Warriors, can they pull it out here, a road win? I mean, it's not as if they didn't compete in games 1 and 2 in Sacramento. Both were basically one possession games down to the wire. Would have been even closer if Draymond didn't get tossed in game 2. But so what I'm taking here is the Warriors to win by single digits to pull it out. With De'Aaron Fox expected to play, that definitely helps what I was already kind of looking at, which is I think the Kings are going to be in it, but they're going to show their youth down the stretch like they did in this last game, and had a close loss. So if you take them actually to win by 1 to 5 points is plus 400, or 6 to 10 at plus 500. If you take both those bets with one unit, you're getting much better juice than if you just bet 1 to 10 points at plus 180. Spent some time crunching those numbers in my head and, using a calculator and trying to get my math degree. And yes, you do in fact get more money. But I mean, the Kings without Fox, or with Fox playing with a broken finger, which is what we're looking at. He says he's going to play hell or high water, right? So I'll just read you what they do without Fox. They score 13 points per game fewer. The pace drops a little bit. The 3-point shooting drops, which is key because the Dubs give up something like three fewer 3-pointers when they win versus when they lose. So if the Kings aren't going to be able to get hot, I mean, Herter really picked them up the last few games Fox mixed. He's been a negative in this series. Keegan Murray has had one good game, but he's another guy who I don't know if you're going to trust down the stretch. And, while the Kings are a great clutch team, how much of that is De'Aaron Fox being clutch and being number 5 and number 2 in fourth quarter points per game? The Dubs, since the All-Star break, are second in net rating in the clutch. They are 26th in offensive rating on the road. That is the one thing you would worry about. But this is the playoffs now. Obviously, we're going to lean towards the old hats. 7 of their last 10 road playoff games for the Warriors have actually been single-digit games, one way or the other. They haven't really covered the spread consistently, which, now we're looking at no spread with Fox playing. But I do like them to win 3 straight here. Now that they got the one without Draymond, you let them get off the mat. And I think the Kings are just so dependent on Fox that if he's not 100%, I don't think they can pull out this close game.
Crazy to say, but I think you're right. That if Fox is not 100%, which he's not, it sounds like he's going to give it a go. I mean, his props are up. And the team does seem to indicate that he's going to play. That was one of the narratives that some of the Warriors media out here, radio hosts, really more than anybody, were trying to perpetuate, which was as soon as Fox's injury report came out, there was all this like detectives work, like, well, no, he's going to play. Like they just want to sort of up the narrative that like, oh no, he can't play. But then when he does play, like he's such a hero, and people were getting mad about it, but kind of seems like it's true because he is going to play, but good on him. And the way that impacts the game without him being able to have the threat of the shot, that's the difference between De'Aaron Fox of old and De'Aaron Fox all-star, potential all-NBA player, etc. Right? Like the difference is he picked up a shot and he made just like half a 3 more a game on his like 4 attempts or so was what he needed to like really up his scoring, get above 26, just a little bit better percentage, up from like 30 to at least like 34. And if you don't have that threat, then he is, highly diminished. So I think that the Warriors, to pull out a close one, you never want to bank on them destroying anybody on the road right now. That's just not what they seem capable of doing. And this is a Kings team that I'll talk about. Malik Monk, they're going to have a solid backup scoring option. It's just that he's not going to be able to drive the offense the way that a Kings offense has been used to being run this year by such a quality guard like De'Aaron Fox. So let me close things out here talking about the other game in the West on the night, which could be closed out if the Lakers want to beat Memphis, but I don't think that's going to happen. I am going to just take Memphis straight up -4 with that spread. That is -110. I'll throw a unit on that, but I am going to throw a unit as well on them to win this game outright and then have this game go under 222.5 and get +206 on my money there and feel pretty good about it. Yeah, I don't know why you would, like I was saying, I don't know why you would bring Anthony Davis and LeBron James to Memphis at this point. If you're the Lakers, like, just let them rest and don't worry about them potentially getting hurt again with just one day of rest in between these games. So I think you'll see them shut it down early if Memphis is able to come out and really, really bring it. I think a little bit of the fuel that was in the tank there for the Lakers that was, that Dillon Brooks really just sort of made more potent for them so that they were able to go a little bit longer. I think some of that fuel has died down a little bit. Now Dillon Brooks is actually asking for pity as he doesn't want the smoke despite starting the entire fire by calling LeBron old, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know that it's necessarily there. They kind of seem to put it on him after LeBron also had another 2020 game, his first ever in the playoffs, which is incredible, and the first since Shaq did it for the Lakers in 2004. So I think, like I said, on the road, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to see the Grizzlies, a few more of the role players that did step up, like Desmond Bane. I hate to call him a role player, but as opposed to being Ja, who is the sort of center of everything, you have him as a secondary option, and he finally came through. Well, he's had one decent game of 22 points, but really that 36-point game was what they needed, especially as Ja failed to get 20 points in that one. So I think they're just going to be coming with a ferocity in this one that I don't think the Lakers are going to be able to match. So the under there feels better, as these last 3 games would have gone under. The games 2 and 3 did. Game 4 would have if it didn't end with overtime, and even that overtime was pretty high scoring at 20 points there in the 5 minutes. So it would have been 208 without it. All right, and so I'm feeling like pretty good about this going under. The pace has slowed down. The last game was a 99 pace. The second one to go under 100 in this series. And if you look at the second halves of these games, especially the fourth quarter, all these games just slow down a ton as LeBron and AD need to really set up what they're doing. And also Austin Reeves, by the way, who has become another really big key playmaker for them in crunch time. Talk about that in the player props video. So I think an under is a great play here. I'm going to combine them. I'm going to take Memphis to win, and I'm going to take the spread in one bet. But however you guys want to play that, I think lower points and Memphis to pull out the victory is a good bet.
Which is why, I would use your logic and say Lakers under their team total, which is probably 109.5, I think I would look at. Because, everything you're saying, like, they're really struggling in the half court to score. Memphis continues to make adjustments despite missing their big guys. And, I mean, AD really did not take advantage of that in the last game, and yet again comes up with another injury or, just getting nicked up or anything. Like we said with the home road splits, like, even having to travel to Memphis is a concern for him. And his defense is still going to be there. And the Lakers, this is how they made a playoff run, right? Like, we starting to see again, like, every single game is going to go under 220 as the playoffs wear on for these veterans, right? That's how they want to play. 85 pace in the fourth quarter is ridiculous. They got to slow down Memphis. They cannot let Ja out in the open court. So I think it'll be low scoring again. And I would be afraid of Memphis erupting at home as they do sometimes. So I would rather take the Lakers under.
No, yeah, that's totally fair. I just think even if this pace is slowed down, I don't see them erupting right now. If the role players are not going to be as good, like, maybe you're going to get a bit more from somebody between a big body Roddy and a Luke Kennard and those types of players. You're going to get something from some of them. But man, how much do they miss Slow-Mo or DeAnthony Melton? It's like, you don't have to choose between defense and offense. You could have guys that can do both really well, and now they don't have that same level of two-way player, but they're going to come out and bring it. So I'm loving them to win this one and make it go 6. So that is all the time we have for you in our best bets video. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Check out our player props as well as we continue to roll along in this postseason. And until we see you next, happy betting.